At this point in time of filming, I've put in August 17th as a date, and my local test centre, which is Sidcup, and then we click on that, so it shows me the nearest test centre as well. No dates found in Sidcup, no dates found in Mitcham, no dates found in Bromley, no dates found in Belvedere. So I'm going to put in the area that I live, which is Luton. That gives me the local test centres as well. No dates found in Luton, no dates found in Stevenage, no dates found in St Albans, no dates found in Letchworth. And then I'm going to put in the area that I used to work back in the day, North London. And no dates found in Tottenham, no dates found in Wood Green, no dates found in Wanstead, no dates found in Chingford. So that's the diary system. So basically for the rest of the year there is no dates available at this point in time. So in this video I will show you what the DVSA are looking to do to clear the backlog. So this week I got an email, most instructors would have if they've signed up to the DVSA, trying to explain their outline of trying to get driving tests back on track. In my opinion, I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work, but you can tell me once you know the full details in the comments below. So basically, I won't go through all the email. We had to do a survey a little while ago. DVSA asked to see what obviously because we are facing what problems we are facing with driving lessons since the lockdown, because most instructors are snowed under with work. I do intensive courses and I'm fully booked up for the rest of the year. I've actually got bookings for next year as well, and I know instructors who are doing hourly lessons are fully booked up. They're struggling to take on any new pupils, let alone servicing their old pupils before lockdown. So anyway, basically it says the research findings reveal that 8 out of 10 driving instructors who responded to the survey currently have a waiting list, and almost half of those have 11 or more people waiting to start driving lessons. We will use these findings to help us understand more about the demand you're facing for driving lessons and the future demand for driving tests. The communication research findings. Now, I'm going to skip that bit because that's not really that important at this point in time. This bit is important. Helping those driving instructors who need it most. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that every instructor has to meet a basic requirement to keep teaching. And the way this is done via what we call a check test. The examiner sits in the back of our car, watch us conduct a driving lesson for an hour, and we've got to meet certain criteria to get to this standard. Now basically what they're saying with this, let me just read this out quickly. We want to help those driving instructors who find it difficult to meet the standards. This will allow us to prioritise those instructors who need the most support. High quality instruction leads to high quality learner drivers who will be better prepared to pass their test first time. Reducing the number of candidates who need to retake their driving test will really help to tackle the waiting list. And they're going to share their findings. Basically what they're saying, if instructor has a low pass rate, really, that's what they're saying, a low pass rate, they're going to ask that instructor to come forward to do a check test. Now if an instructor has a low pass rate, he's going to be reluctant to take any future pupils to driving tests, because obviously if they keep failing, then the chances are the DVSA is going to ask them for a check test. And obviously if they don't meet the requirement after the first attempt, they go away, get a bit more training, and shortly after they get asked to do a second attempt and then a third attempt. Now after the third attempt, if they're not reaching the standard, they're going to get struck off. So will this help? I'm not 100% sure. I can see what they're trying to do, raise the standards, but to be honest, instructors should be at a high standard anyway. Is it our fault a pupil fails a driving test? Not always. Pupils do make mistakes on the day. It's just the way it goes. When I take my pupils to test, I expect them to pass. Do they always pass? No, they don't. Am I worried about this? From me personally, not really, because my standard is pretty high and my pass rate is pretty high. But I do know some instructors who take their badges out of a car on test day. When you take your badge out of a car, you don't have much faith in my opinion, in the pupils doing the driving test, let alone your own ability of teaching that people to pass a driving test. So I think this is going to cause a problem somewhere down the line. Anyway, moving on, increasing the number of test appointments. The latest phase of the new driving exam testing framework trial has now concluded, and we are now planning to extend this to more locations ahead of agreeing a final rollout date. When we roll this out across Great Britain, it will increase the number of available test appointments by an average of 15,000 to 20,000 each month. And again, they will share the findings. Basically, they've done recruitment of new instructors and done a fast track, and it seemed to have worked, and they're going to now implement that across the country. That's all they're basically saying. And hopefully when they're done that, it's going to increase it by 15,000 to 20,000 each a month, which obviously will free up a lot more diary space and hopefully reduce the backlog. I don't see it myself, but that's their plan. Measures to help learners fully prepare for the test and further modernise the driving test. Now this is really interesting. We are also developing a range of other regulatory measures aimed at making every test count. They will encourage learners to be fully prepared and modernise further elements of a driving test. Any measures will be subject to consultation. Now, basically that means they're going to do it anyway. Every time they consult us as instructors, they still go ahead regardless of what their finding is, but that's another story. We will give more details on these as soon as possible, but the measures being considered include now increasing the number of days a candidate must wait before applying for a further test if they have failed. At this point in time, it's 10 working days. You've got to wait before you can take another driving test. You can apply straight away, but you can't take another driving test within 10 working days. So I'm thinking they're going to increase it to about 15 to 20 days before you can apply for another test if you fail. Increasing the number of days notice a candidate must give to cancel or reschedule the test without losing their fee. At this precise moment, it's 48 hours notice. Some candidates are booking the test slots, realising they're not ready, and then giving 40 hours notice, which doesn't give much time for that to go back in the system and get another candidate booked in, which is basically wasting the slot. I would think they're going to increase that to probably a 4 days, 5 days notice when they bring that in, if they bring it in. And the other one is changing the way the eyesight element of the test is conducted. I'm not sure what they're doing about that. That's just reading a number plate from a certain distance. So how they're going to change the way the eyesight element is conducted, I'm not sure about that. And if it's to reduce the time, are they making it more difficult for that? Again, I'm not clear on that, but if I find out more information, I'll bring it onto a video as soon as possible. And introducing a digital test pass certificate. At this precise moment, they handwrite them and hand it out to you, which is your temporary driver's license. I'm sure they're going to start to do this like they did with the DL25, which is your driving test report sheet. They now send that via email, and I probably think they're going to go along the same lines about just email that to you after your driving test. Moving on, exploring ways to help learner drivers and their families understand how long it takes to learn to drive. Now this is important. Pupils having lessons with mum and dad mainly, in my view. When I learned to drive many years ago, I think I had about 14 hours before I took my first driving test. But back then I didn't have roundabouts or bus lanes to be dealing with a lot less cars. And mum and dad are teaching their son or daughter along the same way, especially if they're born about the same time I was. They still think it takes 14 to 20 hours to learn to drive. It takes a hell of a lot more than that. You really want to be taking lessons. I'm not going to give a number for that because they want to learn fast, learn slow, but it takes a lot more than 20 hours normally. You really have to be a really really fast learner and to get that. And what they're trying to do is basically educating anyone who's not an instructor when they're giving lessons, and don't automatically assume it's going to be 20 hours, you good to take a driving test and taking it. Anyway, moving on with this, over the summer we will also be surveying the friends and family of learner drivers to gather feedback to help develop messaging to manage their expectations and encourage them not to take the test before they are ready. This goes back to what I was saying, again, mums and dads still think it takes about 20 hours. They're not realistic with the time it takes to learn to drive. This will be supported by the research we carried out in 2019 with learner drivers and driving instructors to help understand what would encourage learner drivers to take more driving practice. They did a consultation in 2019, but then obviously COVID hit, so that was put on hold. But basically what they're saying is they're trying to encourage mums and dads to encourage their sons and daughters to take more lessons. Taking more lessons isn't a bad thing. If your instructor says you need more lessons, we're not trying to get more money out of you. We're just trying to advise you to the best of our ability. Remember, we are paid professionals and we are giving out advice to you. But I know some people think, oh, my instructor said I need more lessons. They're trying to get more money out of you. We're not. We're just trying to help you get better to pass the driving test first time. We don't want you to fail, because if you fail it, it's going to cost you more in the long run. It's going to cost you more lessons, another driving test, and not to mention the waiting time is getting longer and longer. If the DVSA puts out any more information, I will relate to you, but at this point in time, this is what they're trying to do. My advice to you guys out there who's got a driving test booked, listen to your instructor, take the lessons that is required. Do not take your test before you are ready, because trust me, failing the driving test and going to the back of this queue is only going to be longer. It's only going to be more heartache for you. So take the lessons that are required that your instructor suggests you do take. I'm Dorian from Success. Let me know your views in the comments below, and I shall see you in the next video.